You're watching It's Life Live with your hosts, Juan Lee and Oliver Marcel. Come join us for enriching, enlightening, encouraging, and thought-provoking conversation. Let's go. What's happening?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Yes, indeed.
To our new digs. If you can tell a little bit, we're still in the transition, people. This is the new digs, and we're going to have more change happening as we continue to move through the new branding process. You'll begin to see a new logo. You'll begin to see just new things around. But as you already see, it's going to be a little bit of a twist change in our color pattern. But we can't wait to be able to stop. We can't stop good not putting the content out. I mean, we've been in hiatus. We're into a new year, but life doesn't change. It doesn't stop.
It does not stop. I mean, that's an understatement. It does. Life does not stop. Life continues through color changes, through rebranding, through calendar changes, through everything. At the end of the day, if you're blessed to open your eyes again, you're going to experience, what comes with that, which is life. And so glad to have you all who are watching this, and please be sure to share and to let somebody else know that you watched this and that you prayerfully got some value from it, and as such you're sharing it with someone else.
Yeah. Well, for those that are tripping, stumbling, falling over us and never have seen us before, welcome. My name is Juan Lee, and this is Oliver Marcel, and we are from ClearJourney, a nonprofit that supports individuals looking for answers in life's challenges, in providing resources and education in all aspects of life. We focus mainly and primarily on finances, relationships, and well-being and health and wellness. And we're here at clearjourney.org. You can find out more about us there, but we house all of our content, a lot of our content anyway, on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube channel. Hopefully, if you're seeing us on YouTube, that's our house. So please, if you are not seeing us on YouTube, because we're still going to be streaming this live on our YouTube channel, on our social media. If you're seeing it on there, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that's where our community is going to be housed. We are here for you. And just to give you a little bit of an idea as to who I am and what I do and where I come from, I'm an author of a book called Love Made Simple, The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. And it's the foundation of ClearJourney. It's really about a mindset. It's about a love mindset. And we basically are really reinforcing the fact that with the right mindset, we can navigate all aspects of life, no matter what it might be. And so if you would like to pick up a copy of this to support us in our continual effort to support you in your journey in life, please, you can pick it up on Amazon, or you can also get the Audible and read it and get an idea as to what the right mindset for this journey called life is all about. In addition to that, like I said, we really are focusing on finances. And if you would like to we want to give you this gift. If it's just by going up and to our website and just looking for it. But it's the Budgeting Made Easy, a guide to taking charge of your money. We think that's the foundation of every goal setting, desired journey that we might have, is that we're able to manage our finances. It impacts our relationships. It impacts our health. Everything that we do, it stems from the ability for us to have the right mindset and to be able to monitor and manage our finances.
Mm.
So by all means, go over to the website, become a part of our community, and we'll send you that for free, no charge at all, over the clearjourney.org. Uh, in addition to that, I don't know if there's anything other than that, Oliver. We can go from there,
Hmm.
just roll into what we are going to talk about tonight, because I think we made a subtitle up. It is a relationship mindset. And,
Relationship mindset.
and Oliver is a relationship coach.
I am indeed. That's a passion of mine.
Yeah.
I want to see relationships thrive. So,
So we're gonna I'm gonna go ahead and roll that out. Let them know who and how, what this plays in, and how we're going to look into the mindset
yeah.
of the relationship space.
Yeah, and for those that are watching this, we're talking about relationships holistically. Now, I do in the way of, a niche, if you will. I do spend a lot of my time with married couples, and so typically I'm working through the romantic relationship space. Uh, every once in a while, I get an opportunity to work with small teams as it relates to building corporate relationships as well. But we want to look at relationships and the mindset that is necessary to uh, not only build but to maintain healthy relationships, because there is a mindset. Like, this doesn't happen haphazardly. It doesn't happen without intention. It doesn't happen without you actually making some decisions and really looking at your approach as it relates to mindset. So, just want to talk about that. And I think the two areas we really want to hone in on
Mm-hmm.
as we have this conversation is growth and unity. Interestingly enough, wow, say that 100 times. Coming out of a season where it's heavily family focused. So if you think about the holiday season, right? We're in a new year now, and that season is very holiday focused. Now, as a coach, I tend to see all sides of it. I see the well-oiled machine side of it, healthy, everybody coming together. We love each other, their support. We also see the side of it where people are actually manufacturing some level of fake love and fake support and game face type scenarios so we can make it through, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to be that way. There's a mindset that you can develop that allows you to navigate the relational space in a way that is not only conducive to your personal success, but to the relational success. And so I think that's just to give a little backdrop of, where, the undertone of this conversation.
The value of what you just said is again the space that is very universal, in that sense of knowing that the mindset as it relates to establishing an intentionality, the
Mm.
intent. Um, because here's the thing, a mindset will give you the course, the directions that you will pursue any objective or goal through.
Right.
And unfortunately, if we're not intentionally establishing what that mindset is going to be, or
Hmm.
is going to how it's going to position us, where this is where you get to the time where people say, if we don't stand for anything, we'll fall for anything. Well, if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything.
Hmm.
It's that ability for us to be maneuvered and manipulated because we've not affixed intentionality to our mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see that quite often, right? And so there's something that I say in my book, and it is that behavioral change without mindset change is not sustainable long term. And quite often, where we see our relationships become splintered is, as human beings, we're really good at changing our behavior. And often when I talk about my wife and I's relationship early on in our relationship, I'm very good at changing my behavior. I could be this for this group, and I could be that for that group. Very easy. Like it was effortless, right? But the problem there is, especially as it relates to my marriage early on, if I'm trying to be a good husband and I'm only shifting my behavior to appease, but I'm not developing a mindset that supports that behavior, at some point I'm just going to revert, because generally my approach to things is going to be very much aligned to my perspective or mindset around those things. So if that doesn't change, it's like saying, okay, I'm going to keep this apple tree here, but I expect oranges. And even if I color these apples orange and fool you for a little bit of time, at some point you're going to bite in and be like, something ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with our relationships. We really have to now be looking at authentic, intentional unity and consistent growth, as opposed to trying to fill in gaps when necessary.
Yeah, yeah, and that is truly the purpose, I believe, of how we can use that love mindset that I talk about,
Mm-hmm.
because that love is universal, and it allows you to accept and adapt to various other types of mindsets
Right.
that's conducive to yours.
Right.
And so a lot in certain relationships, all relationships are should be conducive. They should have value one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And in many cases, if we don't recognize that there is none,
Mm-hmm.
it will eventually show itself when tested.
Right.
When pressure comes,
Right.
it will be tested, and the authenticity of it will show itself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I think, what you were saying. And I think the growth mindset,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to want to know that, or to continue to thrive and strive for more,
Mm-hmm.
is essential to having the right mindset to reach your destination, to reach your outcome, the desired outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me let me frustrate and free some folks, right? Talking about a growth mindset, right? Often, and I was just having this conversation with somebody recently, often in relationship, we spend a lot of time and energy evaluating the other party's uh, communication, the other party's capacity for growth, the other party's contribution to the scenario, whether good or bad. We look to kind of point fingers, and we look to place blame. Like that's typically the side of the coin we fall on as it relates to relationship. Can I challenge you, those of you who are listening, to reflect inwardly and reflect on, how do you contribute to the health of the relationships that you're in, whether they are professional relationships or personal relationships? What are you contributing before you actually evaluate? Well, if they would just do this, or if they would just stop doing that, take a moment and self assess, because part of that growth mindset is actually your ability to look at where you are, what your contribution is, and what adjustments you need to make.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can't do that, you'll always be placing blame, and you'll always have this mindset that somebody else is responsible for your relational success, whether personal or professional. And let me just hurt some feelings here. That's not true. You're responsible. You're responsible,
You
right?
you know, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
And so taking that responsibility is the other side of that coin, right? So reflect, understand what your contribution is, understand where you are, and be honest about it. Own it. Own it in such a way that you can learn the lessons and leverage that learning to grow into a new mindset, hence growth mindset.
You just created or just stepped on what we call self-awareness.
Exactly. 100%.
Essential, essential for being able to build the proper relationships, the right mindset for the relationships that you desire.
100%.
And and many of us have a that's where the work is. Let's be perfectly honest with you.
That's where a large percentage of the work is.
That's where the work is
And
because every
it's so interesting, Juan, that you would say that, right? Because there's a controversial statement that I make, and I do it on purpose because I know it's controversial. It contradicts what we've all been told. And that statement is that marriage is not hard work. Like we've all heard that phrase, marriage is hard work, right? But let me tell you why I say that and why I'm controversial in that way. Because of what you just said, right? You said that the self-awareness piece is a large percentage of the work. So I pause when I say marriage is not hard work, just so that people can be like, what? What are you talking about? It's hard to me. I pause for a second when I say that. And then I follow it up with the statement, I'm hard work.
Mhm.
Marriage at its core is easily doable. I'm hard work because I'm not choosing to be self aware, because I'm not choosing to self actualize when I am self aware, because I'm not willing to make adjustments, because I'm selfish. I'm the hard work.
That's a very good way of putting that statement because when you said, look, I'm sitting back here too going like, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm like, yeah. But therein lies what love is though. And
Mhm.
when you put the work in
Mhm.
so that you can give the results of that work to others. And
Right.
that's the demonstration of it, but the work is in me.
Right.
It's me. It's my ability to do those to correct those behaviors so that that relationship can be solidified and become one.
Mhm.
And when you got two people doing that, you got two people being selfless. You're gonna tell me how you can't lose.
You cannot
You can't
lose.
lose.
If both parties in that relationship are doing that with intention, they are looking for the opportunities to grow, right? I was just talking to a couple a few weeks ago, talking to a couple and telling them that your perspective has to change. You cannot look at the scenarios that you go through in life as opportunities to point the finger at each other. You have to look at every opportunity as an opportunity to grow. So, where did we go right? And how can we continue to incorporate that? Where did we go wrong? And what adjustments do we need to make so that we can go right? That is your only job. And as you do that and you look at reflection and you look at ownership, and you look at extracting lessons and leveraging that learning.
This is, this ties into something that Dr. Brockington, the other program that we've added to the platform,
Mm-hmm.
is the philosophy of love, is basically talking about the psychology behind love and how the mindset works.
Mm-hmm.
And that ability to understand the growth and how does he say, it's the transition, the process of how life is,
Mm-hmm.
how life is moving. We've got to look at opportunities and challenges as ways to proceed in this journey.
Exactly.
We can't use these things as things that handicap us or trip us up, because that's all they are. They're things that we're meant to cause us to grow from,
Right.
and not to preclude us from continuing the journey.
Exactly. I try to use very silly, uh, comical at times analogies
Mm-hmm.
with the folk that I coach, because I've noticed that that helps the light bulb go on quicker, right? And so I told somebody, I said, listen, if you get a flat tire on the road, you will not bust out the windows of your car. You won't. You won't look. Now you may get upset. Man, this is going to make me late. This is going, you and that's fine. That's natural. Those are natural reactions. But you're not going to set the car on fire. You're not going to rip the seats out of the car. Like you're going to address the tire, and as quickly as possible, because you got something else to do. You got other places to go reach on your journey. So you're not going to completely derail your journey by abandoning the car or setting it on fire just because the tire blew. Why are you doing that in your relationships? You're going to have these tire blow moments. That's an opportunity to either, one, get out there on your hands and knees and fix it yourself, or two, call somebody. And it's very transferable into your relationship. You're going to have these moments. One, that's an opportunity for both of you to get the tools out and fix what's going on, so you can continue on your marital journey or relational journey, or call somebody to help,
Mm-hmm.
i.e., coach, counselor,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
level of professional.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that often to people, they're like, man, that does make sense, because that would be really stupid of me to bust out my windows because I have a flat tire. Like that would be asinine for
And,
you to
and
do.
the thing about it is that until you say something like that, I think selfishness gets in the way, and they can't see that they
They can't
busting
see it.
out the windows,
Right.
because the tire is flat.
Mm-hmm.
Because in essence, it's like chopping off your nose to spite your face.
Exactly.
How sense does that? How much sense does that make?
Right.
But yet we'll go about doing it, and we really don't understand, the impact of what
Yeah.
we've done. I mean, how much does it take for us to just look at the big picture? And this really goes back to mindset, though,
Mm-hmm.
because as you laid that example out, the tire goes flat. You're driving down the street, the tire goes flat, and you go, your initial mindset there is, I need to change the tire,
Mm-hmm.
not I'm mad because the tire flat.
Mm-hmm.
You can get mad at the fact that the tire got flat, or you can start doing something to change the tire, to get
Right.
yourself back on the road of where you're trying to go. And
And
the mindset side is
mhm.
besides that.
And you're right. And even in your frustration, because you will be frustrated. My son and I dropped this was maybe I can't remember, but a while ago, my son and I dropped my wife off to an appointment, and we're headed up 695 to go home. And I'm like, man, car feels funny. And then all of a sudden I hear this. Boop, 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 boop. I'm like, oh. So there's going to be that frustration, right? But even in that frustration, I'm not abandoning the car. I'm not busting the windows out. I'm not setting the car on fire. Even in that frustration, I was like, told my son, hey, listen, we got to find, I think on Liberty Road, there is a tire place right off the exit. That's our first stop. Even in my frustration. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. So it wasn't that simple for me, right? So sometimes things will happen, and this is going to take us into the unity piece, right? Sometimes things will happen in that resolution season that sometimes compound the problem. I still did not abandon the car. Let me give you an example. That same incident, I get to the tire place and they're like, okay, we got you. We got the tire. We got you. Okay, listen, give me your key lock. Give me your wheel lock. Don't have it. No wheel lock. So now I have to improvise.
No key.
No wheel lock. Yep. So
no key. The wheel lock on the tire, but you don't have the key to it.
Yeah, no key. Yeah, no key. So I'm like, oh, I left the key in my backpack at home. So now I'm like, okay, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Again, not abandoning the car, still frustrated. Actually, maybe a little bit more frustrated right now than I was before, right? But still, in my frustration, I'm looking for ways to get to resolution quickly. So rather than get super angry and just stand there looking crazy, okay, we're going to Uber to the house. We're going to do a two-way Uber to the house, grab the key, bring it back to the spot. That's the same thing we should be doing in our relationships. And I think the reason why, or one of the reasons, there are many reasons, one of the reasons why we don't recognize our capacity to do that is because we don't view this as a team.
That's one, I think, of the bigger issues there. Because when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind is that being frustrated is probably, or being, how did you say it? You were frustrated, or what were you?
Yep.
Okay. Frustration can work counterproductive to unity.
Yes.
So the fact is that the tool that's necessary there is critical thinking. And understanding that the person that you are in this situation with is not your enemy.
There it is.
Okay. And that's got to be something that you've got to already have in place before the situation starts.
Right.
Because as soon as the situation starts, if you questioning that participation, that relationship, as soon as that situation occurs, it's just going to compound. It's going to illuminate. Remember we talked about earlier, if it wasn't real, it wasn't authentic. It's when it's pressured, when it's tested, it's going to break. It's going to show itself.
That's right.
And so when you said that, it's you've got to be conscious in that mindset or that moment to say, okay, the relationship is the most important thing here, in spite of the circumstances.
Yeah.
And when you said don't blow up the windows, don't turn the car on fire, that person sitting beside you, that person that means more to you than that event or that situation, it's important to be conscious, and that needs to be established. That mindset needs to be established prior to the event.
It does. It's crucial, because if you look at it from a sports perspective, and you look at how a team operates, team members get frustrated with each other. They do. But at the end of the day, every time they walk on the field or walk on the court, the idea, the goal is to walk away with a W. Now, their teams aren't always undefeated, which means their goal is to get a W, but they get an L.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if you get an L, you got another game to play. So you got a decision to make. Okay, let's look and see what happened. So because we know we have another game coming up and we don't want to experience that again. So let's look and see what we need to do collectively, individually and collectively to make sure we get the W. And that's what I tell people all the time. It's about mindset. If you're always looking, one, if you understand your team and there's a certain level of unity in team, whether you win or lose, and then knowing that whether you win or lose, the goal is to maximize wins, your approach to each other and to that relationship will change.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm gonna add a little something to that.
Okay.
And that is, as we use the sports analogies, and it's very good for identifying teams. The outcome is only relevant to the team.
Okay. Okay.
It's only relevant. It's only relevant to the team.
Yeah, unpack that.
Because a win to you and your team. Mm-hmm. Now, if we are competitive with other teams, mm-hmm. but we've got to make sure that our goals as being a team. See, because when you talk about taking an L versus a W, as relates to relationships, mm-hmm. I look at L's as opportunities.
Yep. As you should.
as opportunities. Mm-hmm. And if I look at them as opportunities, they have value that I can, if we want to keep it in the win-loss category, that propels me to a win. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, in sports, you can have a team that never wins. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that they are a team. Mm-hmm. But what it does is it impacts it being relative to winning in a bigger picture, a bigger spectrum. But mm-hmm. when I'm talking about, you've got to define your relationship.
Right.
And when defining your relationship, winning going to look different for you than it is going to look for somebody else.
Indeed.
And we really need to be careful in being able to do that, because a lot of people call themselves losing when they're looking at somebody else's relationship.
Exactly. Their expectations are skewed.
And I don't want, and I think when we see the mindset of winning, you've got to put it in context with what the winning looks like. Mm-hmm. Yep. For you and not anybody else. Mm-hmm. And I think the concept of winning is great, but I mean, not to compare that to anybody else.
And that's a very important point. Very important point, because many people get stuck there and they start comparing their team member to a team that is in a completely different league with completely different objectives.
Different game.
Yeah.
Doing a different game.
This is not going to work. So that is key. That is a key essential point there as it relates to mindset, as it relates to unity, as it relates to establishing this level of relational harmony in your space. You cannot do that using a point of reference that doesn't apply specifically to you. So
yeah,
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, so that's and just to put this thing in a full circle is mm-hmm. that, and that starts with the mindset. I mean, with the intention the intentionality of going into this thing saying, okay, that's why goal setting and having a vision is so important, because the relationships that we will establish and develop need to have some type of direction.
Right.
And without that direction, we have a tendency to enter into relationships that are inconsistent with the directions that we desire or want.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a tendency to find out that, you know, we don't have the same desire to accomplish the same thing.
Yep.
When we didn't have a direction from the beginning.
Yep. Very, very good. Yeah. Very true. I think that's very important. And I use another analogy, a building analogy with that, right? And I had a couple who had recently built a house. And I said, listen, I don't even know what your process was, but I guarantee you that I could bet every dollar I have, which is not a lot, but I can bet that this did not happen. And this is what I told them. I bet you this did not happen. I bet you that when you sat down with the builder, that you did not say, do whatever you feel like doing. I said, I don't know your process. I don't know who the builder is, but I promise you, if I bet that, I'm going to win that bet. You did not sit down with that builder and be like, do whatever you feel like doing. You had specific floors you wanted. You had specific doors you wanted. You sat down and picked out carpet. If you were doing carpet, you sat down and picked out hardwood and cabinets, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Why are you winging it in your relationship? If you can put that level of intentionality behind creating a plan and a blueprint for the successful building of your home, why are you winging it in your relationship? So it kind of boils down to, okay, what, if we're going to simplify this, what kind of relationship do you want? And once you identify that, what do you need to do to get it? Not what do they need to do? What do you need to do to get it?
Mm-hmm. And that's any relationship.
And that's any relationship. That's why I'm trying to keep it general. That's any relationship. And then the follow-up question to that is, it's one thing to identify what it is you want and what it is you need to do. It's another thing to decide I'm going to do it. Because we've gotten many people in the relational space all the way up to clearly defining what needs to take place for success, only for them to be like, nah, that's too much. Okay. Okay.
That, again, there's nothing worth having that you don't have to work for.
Yeah.
You've got to put the work in. Mm-hmm. And without the work, you know, like everything that we've been talking about tonight, it doesn't exclude work.
Yeah.
It doesn't exclude work. And the mindset, in many cases, it requires an adjustment. Mm-hmm. And that's the bigger part of this becoming self-aware, is the adjustment that's necessary, because you have such a relationship with your current mindset,
right,
that you don't see past how you've established who you are. It establishes you.
And I love that you said that, right? Because let me help the person who I'm not claiming to be telepathic by any means, but let me let me help the person who is thinking, man, I don't really want to make all these adjustments because you're going to turn me into something else. No, you're not. Adjustments, this is something I put in my book as well. Adjustments are not a threat to your authenticity. And many people don't want to make adjustments because they feel like adjustments to their mindset is synonymous with changing who they are. Now, I use another, it's been established now. We're just
Uh-huh.
king of analogies at this point, right? So I use another one, and I often use this when I'm coaching men. And I'll say to them, like, say it's you, Juan, that I'm talking to. I'll say, okay, Juan, let's say that you're on a basketball team and I'm your coach and you're the point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And I come to you and I say, hey, Juan, listen, man, I'm watching you in these games. You're getting beat by left-handed opponents every time. I need you to change your pivot stance. I need you to make this adjustment to your pivot stance. And what I'll often ask them is, what did I not say to you? And they'll give me all these different answers. Well, you didn't say this, you didn't say that. And I'll say, okay, cool. I also did not say that you are no longer a point guard.
Mm-mm.
I didn't say that you got to become a center to make that adjustment. I didn't say you got to become a shooting guard to do that. All I did was give you an adjustment that's actually going to make you a better point guard.
Mm-hmm.
So making these adjustments, don't be afraid to make these adjustments. Again, goes back to mindset, goes back to perspective. You are looking for every opportunity to be great or
To be
greater.
successful. Yeah, to be, yeah. I mean, and that's the gist of what this is all about,
Yeah.
is being able to equip yourself with the opportunity to be successful in all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And if that means I need to make adjustments, which entail equates to growth,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with that, in the sense that that adjustment just enhances me.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from me.
And it baffles me that we do that in every other area of our lives, but for some reason we just don't transfer it to our relationships. If I tell you right now that if you make these couple adjustments on your job, you'll get a $10,000 raise, I bet you won't ask not one single question after that. You're gonna be like, okay, where do I go to do it?
Again, this goes back to where what values do you establish based on your mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and then what are you willing to invest in those values, in those to maintain those values, to get to the
Right.
goals that you're desiring in the long term.
Yep.
And for so many of us, you know, I hate to say this, our relationships are more, I don't hate to say this, I'm telling you, our relationships are more valuable than any pile or bag at the end.
I agree 100%. 100%. I agree. As it relates to priorities, man, the relationships that you build, and I'm not just talking about marital relationships, I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
personal and professional relationships. The
Mm-hmm.
relationships that you build are worth their weight in gold.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. It's only when you have and are establishing the right relationships.
Right.
See, we associate relationships with that aren't valuable, and we hold them. Here's the thing, and we hold them close and dear
Yeah.
with no value.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got, relationships have purpose.
Yep.
They have purpose, and this mindset relationship should be with the mindset of establishing something that brings value
Mm-hmm.
to both parties. To just think about it. Any employer doesn't hire an employee for a one-sided relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we're going to give you money just because we want to give you money.
Right.
They're
Yep.
going to give you money because you're going to you're going to give them your time and effort and your insight, or whatever that skill that they're requiring
Yep.
from you, to be able to exchange that for
Mm-hmm.
that money that you're getting. That's a relationship.
Yep.
That's a relationship. We have to understand its value in that relationship. And many of us will cuss out our boss
Mm-hmm.
and lose the relationship
Mm-hmm.
that's free, that feeds the family,
Yeah.
because we cut off our nose to spite our face.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not the right mindset.
Not at all.
When we know the bigger picture and we understand what it is that we're trying to obtain, and we have the value, we put the value in the right place.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Listen, you have to get to the realization that these relationships are so important and so valuable and require a growth mindset and your ability to unify in such a way that you literally understand that for me to hurt this relationship is for me to hurt myself.
Wow. Rob, drop the mic. That's a mic drop there. To understand that is to have the right mindset.
Yep.
That's to have the right mindset. Man. Wow. That being said, we're going to close it out there right there. I think that's about it. Oliver, let people know how they can reach you and get in touch with you.
Absolutely. If you are a social media person, that is the social media handle there, pretty much everywhere at Denali LLC. We would love for you to connect with us on YouTube. So we have a preference, but you can find us everywhere else. But specifically, go over to YouTube. I was telling somebody this one. I was talking to a couple people, right? And one person in particular, their eyes opened so wide and was like, man, why are you giving away so much value? But what I told them was there are 500 videos, 500 videos on our YouTube channel. 500. So essentially, you could go over to YouTube and never have to call on me for any
Mm-hmm.
reason, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So go over to YouTube, check that out. But that's the social media handle. For those of you who are email folks, because there are some email folks that are still around, it's Oliver at Denali.org, and Denali.org is also the website. If you can't tell by now after listening to this, I'm passionate about seeing relationships thrive. Also passionate about seeing men win in every area of their lives, and as such, wrote the book, Overcoming the Man Loss, for the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. And it's my journey of self-discovery. So you kind of get to see how I lived out some of these lessons that I've had to learn over the years. Because listen, all this stuff we're talking about, I didn't get it right in the beginning. So don't you think for a second that I'm sitting on my high and mighty horse, not understanding how you struggle, because the book will show you. I go through 8 areas that I grappled with as a husband and father, and my journey of self-discovery in those areas. So, and you can pick that up on Amazon.
Yes, yes, yes. And by all means, support Oliver. He's a very significant part of ClearJourney. So support him in his efforts to support you, and his community also. Also, again, like I said, if you want to learn more about what we do at ClearJourney, go over to clearjourney.org and you can find out more about what we do. We're here to support you in all aspects of your journey. And also, just to let you know that we do have a new program that's coming, or that will be out shortly, that you can take a look at and be lookout for. It's the Philosophy of Love with myself and Dr. James Brockington. It will be coming on the YouTube channel, Clear Journey's YouTube channel, on Tuesday nights. It's going to start sometime in the near future. We're talking about the science behind love and how it works and how we manage to navigate life with the technical word, the technical part of it. So we it's going to be a good thing. I honestly think it's going to be a real good eye opener. If you want to get deeper and deeper into the philosophy of love, join us over there on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. Other than that, if it's been anything that you've enjoyed about this episode, please subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family members about us. We are really wanting to build a community. And by all means, if you would like to financially support us, we are a nonprofit. Go over to the website. We're also, where we're in a redesign, you will see that occur here within the next, if it hasn't already occurred when you see this. But please feel free to donate to us and support us in what we're doing. So until next time, like we said, always, we can't change life, but we can help you navigate it. And so until next time, we'll see you then.
Later.